The year 1066, a date that would forever change England. It marked the end of two of history's most dominant peoples, the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, and it all came down to one brutal, decisive battle. News had reached King Harold Godwinson, newly crowned King of England, that a massive Viking army had invaded the north. Norwegian King Harald Hardrada, the Hard Ruler, had crossed the North Sea with 300 ships and 10,000 Viking warriors. With him rode Tostig Godwinson, Harald's own exiled brother, driven by bitterness and promising Hardrada the English throne. At the Battle of Fulford, they had crushed the northern English forces. York surrendered. Hardrada believed the crown was his. But Hardrada had no idea what was coming. Harold Godwinson gathered every man he could muster, up to 15,000 troops, and did the impossible. He marched his army 190 miles from London to Yorkshire in just 4 days, an almost unmatched feat in medieval warfare. Meanwhile, Hardrada had camped his army at Stamford Bridge, east of York, waiting for English hostages. His men had left their armor behind with the fleet at Rickhull, several miles away. They were expecting negotiations, not war. At dawn on September 25th, Harold's army appeared suddenly over the hills. The Vikings were caught completely off guard, many relaxing in the fields, some bathing in the river, most without mail or helmets. Hardrada quickly sent forces to defend the bridge crossing. But before battle commenced, Harold wanted to negotiate. He offered Tostig his earldom back if he would abandon Hardrada. Tostig hesitated, then asked what his brother would offer the Norwegian king. Harold's reply was cold and brutal. 7 feet of English ground, as he is taller than other men. Hardrada and his army would be buried on English soil. The Vikings refused. Battle erupted. The English charged the bridge, but the outnumbered Viking defenders fought ferociously with their massive axes. As the Vikings finally retreated, one lone warrior, perhaps a berserker, stayed behind. Standing alone on that narrow wooden bridge, he cut down 40 Englishmen, holding off the entire army. The housecarls even offered him mercy, but he refused. Finally, an English soldier crept beneath the bridge and thrust a spear up through the planks, stabbing him from below. With the bridge cleared, Harold's army surged across. Hardrada rallied his men into a defensive shield wall formation on higher ground, the Black Raven banner flying above. Tostig urged retreat to reinforce with the 3,000 Vikings at Rickhull, but Hardrada stubbornly refused. Perhaps he believed his men could win. More likely, he was trying to pin the English in place until reinforcements could flank them. But that delay proved fatal. His men, lacking armor, were now surrounded with no escape. The battle was savage. Men hacked each other to pieces for hours. Harold rotated fresh troops into the fight, overwhelming the Vikings. Then, an English arrow found Hardrada's throat. The last great Viking king fell dead. Tostig took command. Harold offered mercy again. Tostig refused, picked up Hardrada's fallen banner, and rallied his men for a final stand. They chose death over surrender. The Vikings were slaughtered. Only a handful escaped. Just as the massacre ended, Eystein Orr arrived with reinforcements from Rickhull, but they were exhausted from running 25 kilometers in full armor. They were cut down quickly. By sunset, the Viking army was annihilated. Of the hundreds of ships that had brought them from Norway, the survivors needed only 24 to return home. Harold Godwinson had achieved a miraculous victory. England was safe, but as his men buried the dead, word came from the south. William, Duke of Normandy, had landed at Pevensey Bay. 3 weeks later, Harold would face a new invader at Hastings, where his fate and England's would be decided. The Battle of Stamford Bridge marked the end of the Great Viking Age. They would never set foot upon the English Isles again.